yeah, is telling you that we're recording. And the other thing is, feel free to use the chat as much as you like. People are already writing a lot, which is great to see. Feel free to put those interesting topics in there. Even if we don't manage to cover every single thing tonight, we always take note of the things that people do want to discuss and some questions that they're asking. And we try to ensure that our community calls cover them. A note though that tonight's call, we're not talking about Altair because we've got an AMA coming up on that on the 16th of June. So we won't be covering that tonight. Maybe Helena, you can just drop the link in the chat for the forum post for the Altair AMA. And we've actually got Will from Parity and Kusama joining that. So that will be the place to come if you have lots of questions on Altair. Cool. So I better turn, no, that's all good. So tonight, I'll just start sharing my screen and show you the agenda. So welcome everyone. So we've just done the little introduction. We're going to pass to Lucas to hear more about the mission of Centrifuge. We'll have a bit of Q&A and discussion if people have perspectives and questions. Cassidy will just do a very quick update on some staking news. Then we have a segment where we want to talk about the CFG rewards and have a bit of discussion about potential changes to the rewards. So Ash will talk us through what's being proposed and talked about on the forum, and then we'll make time to see what questions are coming up, what new thinking we can try to integrate, and talk a bit more about the way forward from there. And we'll hear from Martin, who's one of our co-founders, very involved on the biz dev side of Centrifuge, and he'll be talking about the 3 tokens, the TVL and AO outlook, and a bit about the roadmap. Then I will be talking at the end of the call about our ambassadors program and the steps for being selected into that ambassadors program. And we'll also hear from one of our ambassadors, Pats, who will just give you a bit of insight from being an ambassador in our community. So welcome everyone, and we're ready to go. And I'll pass to Lucas to start us off.
Sorry, I had to find the mute button. Hello, everybody. So I will, first of all, wanted to mostly welcome all of the new faces here. And for those of you who this is maybe a bit of a repetition, just look at it as like a bit of a refresher for all the new ones. I'll want to talk a bit about sort of what our North Star is, what our mission is, and as you're like learning about Centrifuge, sort of give you a bit of a picture of where we're going. And to start out, Centrifuge has quite a long history for crypto already, and it sort of evolved over time. But we always wanted to use this amazing technology that we discovered in circa 2017 and sort of figure out how we could make it affect the lives of more people. Specifically, how could we allow more businesses sort of use crypto to settle their transactions, to interact with each other. And we defined our mission as, and sort of refreshed it, refined it over time, but and I'll just read this out for a second. We defined our mission as Centrifuge unlocks economic opportunity for all by connecting people to borrow and lend money transparently and cost effectively. And we want to do this free of unnecessary intermediaries and like the inefficiencies that we all know from the traditional financial system, right? That I think a lot of us are looking for alternatives when they come to crypto. And so what does this mean? I think at the very core, the idea of Ethereum, the idea of blockchains, and then also sort of out of that came the idea of DeFi, is that, well, if we make this truly open, we remove any barrier of entries, we can sort of make this radically more fair, right? Because sort of having this high cost or this high complexity for people to start interacting with this system is keeping the access to the current financial system in the hands of like the very few well-established large companies. And so this actually, right, translates quite well to what we want to do. Centrifuge wants to bring sort of the liquidity, this innovation, the composability that exists in DeFi to borrowers that don't actually have any crypto assets, but have other assets that are actually very interesting, like houses, farmland, trade finance collateral, right? And so as we sort of build out this system, for us, it's super important to sort of make Centrifuge assets safe, make them well understood, and make them compatible with DeFi. Make them compatible with DeFi and onboard them into all these other protocols so that DeFi can actually grow, right? Because what we're tackling here is not just the crypto market that's at a few, is it north of $1 trillion? But at least the DeFi market is at a few hundred billion, around 100 billion today. The real world, right, is measured in the trillions. And so that's sort of where we're headed. And as we've done our sale on CoinList, and I'm super happy to see the great support that we've had in this. We're now sort of looking towards, okay, how do we actually scale this? How do we take TVL and Centrifuge and increase and sort of take it from there? And I think that's what the rest of the call is also going to be about, right? Taking action on that.
Cool. Thank you, Lucas. Anyone comments or questions on that brief introduction to what Centrifuge is and why we're doing what we're doing? It's quite high level, but that's fine. Okay. Also, how do you extend markets? Is that something you want to talk to?
I can talk about it. So we're starting with asset originators that we think are a good fit for DeFi today. Those are mostly still smaller companies, companies that have a need for capital and measured in the millions. And sort of as we grow, we can actually start, and we're seeing this already happening with some of the new pools we're launching. We're discussing, for example, with Maker, with those are now asset originators that have demand that's more in the dozens to hundreds of million. And so as we scale the asset originator side, which is a really big challenge and something we're focusing a lot on in the team, but also I hope sort of the community can be supportive in that. And I see a few faces who have been talking to us about new asset classes and new pools and all that. So as we do that, we can then grow the investor side, right? So this is the way I think about it is this is a bit of a marketplace, meaning we need to match both asset originators with investors, because if there's like a disconnect and like there's too much money in the system or too little assets in the system, and so that this is sort of the process we're going through, is keeping those tightly in check, and that's as a community something we need to also manage, right? And so follow-up question, is there a plan to decentralize the AO onboarding process? There definitely is. In theory, it is decentralized today. In practice, it's still very hard, and a few of those steps are still very much maybe not documented enough, not established enough that someone could really come and just go through this all by themselves. But this is something we're working towards too. And I think a lot of this is actually not even just the technical side. It sort of allowing someone to deploy a pool on a technical level is fairly straightforward to simplify. But the hard part is going to be helping with the legal, explaining these very traditional businesses, right, that have a lot of times like never touched crypto before, how how they deal with suddenly millions of dollars in stable coins and how they get them into the fiat that they need. And so that is I think something where we think sort of facilitators, community members, stakeholders in Centrifuge can start actually working and sort of providing the service. And we're already seeing this happening with a few asset originators that are actually now sort of expanding their own business by bringing on new asset classes and sort of doing that at scale, where like now the team behind Bling is, for example, working on a new deal that I think Colin will talk about later, and scale that.
Cool. Awesome. Great questions, everyone. And yeah, there's lots of comments and questions coming through on decentralizing AO onboarding process, accessing institutional AOs, a program and incentive for onboarding. And also, I think, Martin, maybe you want to touch upon a few of these in your segment coming up soon. So for now, we'll break it up a bit, and we want to just use the front end of the call to talk about a key governance topic. And then after that, we'll hear a bit quickly from Cassidy on some validator news, and then we'll pass to Martin, who will be going even deeper into some of this discussion around asset originators and business development. So if that's fine, let's do a bit on CFG rewards with Ash, starting us off.
Hey guys, so we're approaching 5.5 million CFG rewarded, and because of that, we're going to be setting a new rate of rewards going forward. But we also are suggesting setting a new governance process for rewards going forward. And what we're suggesting is adjusting rewards every 14 days based on price developments and changes in supply and demand. And what we've suggested as a new rate of reward going forward is 0.0002 CFG per dollar per day, if I'm not mistaken. And in terms of some comments that we received on the post, one of the main things is whether we can adjust rewards more gradually. So pretty much it might be a bit of a marketing tool having a high APR when we do launch on exchanges. So it may be in our best interest to do a more linear reward rate reduction, so we don't reduce rates all at once. And also one comment was made about potentially a vesting coefficient. So whether we can, people who have been invested in Tinlake for longer are subject to higher reward rates than those who have been there for a shorter amount of period. So yeah.
Cool. Thanks for the summary, Ash.
I also want to just encourage anyone to speak up, not just post your questions in the Slack, but yeah, we'll be curious to hear who's had time to. Maybe I'll post the forum discussion for everyone so you have it handy. But this is so the basis of what Ash just introduced is this thread.
Cool. Yeah. Anyone here want to say something to any of the points Ash raised, or any other thoughts that they've had around the reward rates? I know that Super Mario, you're usually someone who has, are you here tonight? Or even Pats, you want to bring in any of your points?
Yeah, hello everyone. Yeah, I think the point what Lucas has already specified is already being there on the forum as well. So it's pretty much straightforward what we as a community think ahead in terms of, both balancing out the supply and the demand part, and also rewarding to the guys who have been invested. So, but it's not an easy task. I can clearly understand from what he's saying stuff. So I think the decision that will be taken by the team would be definitely in the interest of the investors, keeping in mind what's the inflation and the rewards and all that stuff goes along with that. So yes, that should always be in mind in terms of the rewards as well.
So I think maybe to structure the discussion a bit, let's first, I could walk through the governance process I proposed, which then once we have that set, sort of once we discuss that, then we can talk about the numbers that we hopefully can sort of decide on in the governance process. But sort of switching, I think a key component in the governance process that we wanted to set up is, first of all, more flexibility to change them in a shorter period of time, because with like liquidity for coin list purchasers becoming available in about 35 days, there will be, of course, significant changes to like what the market will do, what CFG rewards will look like. And so in that sense, like we do need to be able to react to that. I think we were in this position where there was no liquidity for CFG. It's still not traded today. And so that with sort of that change, we can actually go from pretty much having to guess and sort of make some very broad assumptions to having a very clear idea of what the rewards are worth and sort of how the market will react to them. And so my proposal was to say we can change them, we could regularly change them through sort of council votes that ultimately decides, and we use the community calls and then forum discussions along with forum votes to sort of reach consensus on what the proposal is that the council will then move forward voting on. And so the process I would follow is, and we can go through this in the next week or so with this first adjustment, is that we sort of at some point, once we've reached a bit of a consensus on the forum thread that I've posted in, we would then put a specific proposal forward to vote. If that is sort of reaches acceptance on the discourse forum, then the council would vote on it in an on-chain vote. Alternatively, we could also use actually on democracy on-chain governance, where we would leave it up to all token holders to vote. This is a slightly bigger coordination effort because the council consists of 7 people that are actively voting in and sort of are easy to reach. Whereas if we try to reach consensus with a democracy vote, this will need a bit of gathering votes and sort of making people aware of that.
Yeah, there's a couple of comments coming through. Roy, Crypto 11, do you feel like speaking, or do you want us to just have a look at your suggestions, ideas?
Well, I was actually writing it, but I can clarify it now. I also commented on the forum, and I was thinking about incentivizing long-term investors into the pool, and what we can do to give them a small benefit over the short-term investors. And one of the things that I was thinking about is providing a one-time reward in Centrifuge token if you are invested, for example, for 30 days or 60 days or well, whatever. But well, I think Lucas can reply on that, because I think it's technically difficult to implement such a thing. But well, that's more up to you to decide, of course.
I mean, technically difficult to implement is relative. The infrastructure we have today to set rewards does not support it. It supports giving them out at a fixed rate per day. And so doing any short-term changes that would implement something like that are a challenge, right? Like in the next couple of weeks, this would not be something we could implement. I would like to see like sort of it does make sense from a high level to like incentivize long-term investing. What other DeFi projects are doing that, and like how successful is this for these projects, and sort of what are the common, like, I would be a bit concerned about ways that users would start exploiting this. But maybe share more experience.
Lucas is frozen. Is that Lucas? We're losing you. So I think if people do know of other DeFi projects who are experimenting with rewarding in the long term, feel free to put them in the chat. Poker swap. Lucas, you just cut out for a second. People are putting in the chat some other projects that have been experimenting around this.
So I think, we anyway had the 60 days, the 30 days, exactly that has happened. Staking incentives, and you could actually get it only if you they invested for at least 60 days, now it's 30 days. So that is a long-term incentive. And then of course, also whatever you keep in a pool, it's staking, day by day.
Cool. Anyone else want to grab the mic and just have a last go at changing the way rewards are done at Centrifuge? Cool. Otherwise, keep the discussion going on the forum post, even like new ideas and links to other projects. It's all really helpful. And Lucas will be answering all the questions there. Unless you want to say any last words, Lucas?
No, my goal is to sort of come up with a few alternatives that the community can vote on by end of this week, so tomorrow, and then move it forward. And I'll update and post a thread both on Discourse and also in the Telegram channel for people to vote on what rewards should look like. That will go live probably on the weekend. So yeah, thanks for the feedback, everyone. That's it on my end.
Cool. Okay, let's keep moving. Cassidy, do you want to take a couple of minutes to very quickly say something about Validator Nominations?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me okay? Cool. So we just had one small slashing event. It actually wasn't super big, but I just wanted to mention it to everyone. So it looks like this validator probably had a backup node that was running with the same keys. And so there was a slashing for double signing. That validator is aware and he's working on it. But just for anyone who does run validators, these sort of backup nodes, they're very tricky and are not recommended. And so for this reason, it's better to have good monitoring to identify when your node is down, rather than having two nodes that are signing blocks at the same time. And this is because offline slashing is better than the slashing that is for double signing. So if you have nominated the slash validator, you can go to the portal and just take a look at a net slashing event under network and staking. And you can see if you potentially need to renominate a different validator and unbond from this specific validator that was slashed. Yeah, so just a minor update there, and always be actively checking in on your nominations for events like this.
Great, thank you, Cassidy.
Maybe one quick addition, like running a backup validator is fine. Running a backup node is fine as long as you don't put a key in there as long as you don't put the same key in there to sign, right? So like for anyone that, if you want to have backup infrastructure running, just don't put the production key, the session key in there that you also use on the main node, so that if suddenly your backup node does want to sign, it actually can't, right? Because that's because it could actually be beneficial if you have a fully synced node available that you can just swap over. But yeah, that's really the main part, is not to have the session key duplicated in two nodes. I think the slashing event was around 20,000 CFG. So just to give people an idea of what Cassidy meant with small.
Cool, thank you. Unless there are any questions on that, we'll keep moving and we'll pass to Martin, who's going to give us a bit of an update on progress at Centrifuge.
Yeah, thank you. I hope voice is better now, Kate. Awesome, cool. Yeah, we got a lot of questions in regards to all these different tokens flying around in the Centrifuge ecosystem, and just, you know, point out a few important things and encourage you to read more in detail if you're interested. So obviously we have the Centrifuge token, CFG. We renamed it from name we had used in the past, which was Radial or Red. That is exactly the same token. That is the token to run the network. So the token you need to stake for the proof of stake, the token where validators and whoever is staking gets rewarded. So that is, you know, the network token of the Centrifuge chain. I think that is very simple, easy to understand. It's exactly what Ether is for Ethereum. That is what the Centrifuge token is for the Centrifuge chain. We have a few more tokens, and we call them drop and tin. And just would like to point out a few things, what it means, what is different here. And then kind of, you know, if you have questions, answer those if it comes to the token and the token model. So first of all, why are different tokens, the drop and the tin token, on top of CFG or independent from CFG? Because they suit a completely different purpose. Those tokens are actually issued by issuers on the TinLake protocol. So it's operating actually, these tokens are actually originated and issued by TinLake, not the Centrifuge chain, to invest in those pools of real-world assets. We did it in a way which is in you know, traditional finance called structured finance or securitization, where we would actually like to protect more the general investors, the investors with less knowledge about the underlying assets and how they are managed. There's a fixed income token that is called the senior tranche, and we call the drop, and having it protected by a junior tranche, where the junior tranche, we call the tin token, has to take first risks. So whenever you invest in a pool on TinLake and there purchase drop tokens, this investment, your drop token holding, is protected by the tin buffer and the investment of the tin token holders. So this investment of the tin token holders has actually, if there is anything happening, has to go away first, has to be consumed to cover those losses before you actually even have an impact on the fixed income of the drop token. So only if the tin is completely wiped out, the income of the drop token is reducing, and as well as then, of course, long-term, the value of the drop token. So you can also easily use that as an indicator if you look at a pool, what is the size of the tin buffer, and actually where the tin token goes. I think we have a few nice blog posts. Do your own research. I think A Tale of Two Tokens. I think also Dennis had 2 recent blog posts about how actually TinLake works. I think we just, you know, posted again here, either in the chat or also update them the slides, read it through. So really, it's one is completely disconnected from the other, really, because one is the usage of TinLake as a decentralized platform to actually originate assets and finance them, and the other thing is the Centrifuge chain the TinLake is running on. Any questions here? Maybe Kate, if you were following the chat, was there anything? Cool. I think the next question was more also kind of, you know, asked Lucas already. Where are we going with origination? How does it scale? Decentralizing it, etc. And that is, of course, connected with the future growth of total value locked and assets originated or assets under management, which is more the traditional term, I think, in the traditional finance world for total value locked. So of course, we work with new asset originators to spin up new pools. We, with the current asset originators, grow those pools substantially over the next month, and also work on ways actually to have the onboarding of asset originators being scaling up and actually make it less independent, make it less dependent on the capacity of the Centrifuge team. There are other partners starting to onboard asset originators, being partners actually to select asset originators and specifically kind of helping them with using the TinLake platform. All these things Lucas has mentioned go through the legal process, understanding crypto, how actually those pools operate, how actually to turn a stable coin into fiat, etc. So that will generate growth. If it comes to decentralizing it, that is something we have on the agenda, of course, and that is something we need to do in a way, I think, that it is reducing the trust you need to put in to a single pool or a single asset originator as an investor. So we would like to launch sooner or later a token model. We call it underwriter token. I think Cassidy had a blog post last year which kind of outlines how the scope would look like, how it would basically function. And that means that actually the underwriting of specific assets in the pool would be most likely the first thing we start to decentralize, and then encouraging people who have actually specific skills and expertise in specific asset classes, real estate, trade finance in a specific industry, etc., then to participate there as an underwriter, and then actually with the underwriting, making the investment more secure, and also, of course, participating for this effort in the return they help to generate, if that makes sense. So I think all these will drive not just the growth of the TVL on the protocol, but also I think the growth of the ecosystem, building up roles and having the ecosystem more and more participating in the growth of the protocol itself. Any questions here?
Yeah, there's a good one in the chat from Super Mario, who I don't think can speak, but can you explain the event of a default where TIN tokens do not cover the losses and the collateral needs to be claimed?
Okay, so all the pools, they are actually not only securitized, so that is this TIN drop structure I was talking about. TIN is protecting drop, but they're also secured. That means there is behind the NFT something in the real world which can be claimed. So if it is a real estate mortgage, the property, the house, it is behind the mortgage. If it is trade finance, what is delivered, what is in the container being shipped from China to the US, things like this, if it is inventory, the inventory itself. So wherever a default is happening, meaning the borrower is unable to pay the financing fee and the repayment, the SPV can actually kind of get their hands on the underlying asset and sell it on the market, somehow liquidate it. It's most likely not recovering everything, but at least parts of it, and at least as much as that the drop investors should be protected by the TIN investors, to really restricting the risk for drop investors to unusual risks, I would say. You never know when a black swan event happens or whatever. Just kind of considering an asset originator, that was fortunately not the case. But if you could consider, for whatever reason, and you do not have that maybe all perfectly managed in the real world, does trade finance and most of the underlying assets are on a single ship. You may not even know that, this containers from different counterparties, and this ship is may got stuck like the other given in the Suez Channel, and that is maybe causing a delay and causing within a general average event like this one some costs. Hey, unlikely, but that is always the risk you have with those investments, but I think the risk, that's where we try our best actually to work with the asset originators, what they actually originate, and the investment they offer on Tin Lake, that is comparably safe, and I think even more important for most of our investors, not somehow correlated to any crypto investments.
So there's a few questions coming through. Does anyone want to ask them? We've got
can I go?
Yeah, go ahead, Asha.
Hi. So in case of a semi, not a complete black swan event, but there's a possibility that the underlying real estate project has had damage or has diminished in value, and in technicality, that real estate would have been covered through a third-party insurance. So will that third-party insurance be applicable, or will it be extendable to the Centrifuge project as well? Or is there a possibility to have a crypto insurance project on board with it?
Yeah, crypto insurance would most likely cover the risk of the protocol itself, never the risk coming with the underlying asset, which remains in the real world. And there are, of course, insurances. So for trade finance, the containers falling out the ship, if the goods are damaged, etc., that is all insured. If what's not insured is a general average event in the case of the given. But on the other hand, if it's a mortgage, of course there is insurance. The mortgage provider would never accept, a property where they do not have a fire insurance or whatever, the house burns, the asset is gone. So of course, that is just following the rules of the traditional finance world, which were established, I think, over the last, I don't know how many 100 years, and improved to protect investors. On the other hand, what we're adding here is the decentralized framework to allow you first to invest in those assets where you couldn't invest in the past, and also making it fully transparent down to a single asset level and the performance of a single asset.
Awesome. Great question, Asha.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anyone else that wants to ask a question, particularly around this subject? I'm just looking, there's quite a lot of stuff coming through. Yeah, there's one, Roy. How often do TIN tokens have to cover for defaults? Did it ever happen in the history of Centrifuge?
Did not happen, but as far I know the space, it will happen sooner or later. And that's why we have also a rather big TIN buffer, so that a single default of a single NFT not being paid at all would not anyway somehow kind of interfere with any drop holdings or any drop returns. So that is, of course, the idea of the TIN buffer, that is for unexpected risks, but that the rest basically is covered by the securitization structure of a single pool.
Cool. Bernhard, would you like to ask your question instead of me just reading it out for you? Bernhard, no, he doesn't have a mic. Can you see that? It's how will Centrifuge cover different geographies with SPVs, considering different legal questions, the system?
Yeah, so that is most likely something which will grow over time. So the legal framework we have prepared as a tool set for asset originators to set up SPVs solely based on US currently. So I think we work with other projects in other regions. Hey, I think someone has mentioned China, Hong Kong as a market. It's unlikely that there will something happen soon, especially with the latest announcements as it comes to crypto. So something which works, I think, decentralized, permissionless and open is most likely not really compliant with the regulatory system in China. I do not expect anything soon there. The Other jurisdictions which we look at is, of course, the rest of Asia, Europe, and sooner or later, just takes longer. We will start there something as well. Something you need to consider is also you need a actually liquid, big enough stablecoin infrastructure. And if you look where you have stablecoins of scale, that is actually only US dollar based stablecoins. So I think the other stablecoins and other fiat currencies compared to the US dollar stablecoins, if you just look at market size, market cap, they are not really existent, you know. So because also the stablecoin itself could be a risk for someone financing and using it. If you just look, I don't know, trust GBP or whatever, market cap 50 million, that is just too small to even consider it for a small pool, you know. So if a small pool of, I don't know, 5 million has a 10% market share of the entire stablecoin supply, complete no-go, you know.
Okay, cool. I think, yeah, there's a lot of interest and a lot of probably expertise in the room on this subject. So we could even organize more of a trusted and invested stakeholders who have really shown their commitment to the Centrifuge community. You would have seen them very, very active over the last few weeks with the token sale, answering all the questions, providing a lot of insight. It's people that really know how Centrifuge operates and have a bunch of experience in DeFi. They work alongside our amazing community moderator, who you will have seen and who talked on the call, which is Fish Scales or Ash. They help make the community a great place by answering questions, helping onboard users, making memes, talking about Centrifuge and other communities. They brainstorm ideas for potential DeFi collaborations, product improvements, and so on. And they also give a lot of really helpful feedback on the communications that we have from Centrifuge and trying to think, how can we make this more digestible for community? So that's a bit about what they're doing so far. Potentially some upcoming missions and ideas for, you know, how ambassadors can help and what they can work on are thinking about decentralized AO onboarding, facilitating pools under the underwriter token, spreading the word far and wide on Centrifuge. We're not sure yet, but as a group, we'll figure out like what is the best place that people in the decentralized ecosystem, how can we take some of the work outside and really walk the talk of decentralization. So I want to talk a little bit about our amazing ambassadors. You see here, we've got Pats, who's very active in our chat. Pats, it's Kenny, isn't it? And also known as Winter Chemistry. He has really incredible knowledge of the protocol as well as finance and maths. And you'll find him answering questions left, right, and center with detail and precision and patience. So this is Pats. We also have Luke Pro or Lucrum, who's always very cool, calm, and collected in the face of crypto frenzies. And Luke, he is always really great because he's always representing the best interests of investors while thinking quite sensibly about the long-term strategy of the protocol. We also have Christian, who is really a consistent presence in the Centrifuge community, providing up-to-date info with a smile or a joke. He's a very experienced community member. Christian is very chill, informative, but firm. So, oops, why won't it let me move? 1 second. We also have Sebastian, who's here with us tonight, who also known as Svensson Nefberg as his Telegram handle. He's always thinking about different types of use cases to onboard as asset originators, which is a really interesting and helpful pastime, and also how to communicate in a way that everyone understands. So you often find Basti being like, this doesn't make sense, this too many acronyms, too many jargon words, and this is all very helpful for us in the Centrifuge team to get this kind of input and feedback. And we have Sam, who joins all of our calls from Sydney, Australia. So as you can imagine, it's a pretty rough time zone for him, but he's always there. Very careful and considered thinker and thinking strategically about future potential partnerships. So these are our 5 ambassadors that we currently work with. And the ambassador program, so just an update on how this is evolving. We are looking for 3 to 4 more ambassadors at the moment. The criteria and process is quite simple. You must be an investor in Tin Lake. This is just so that you have first-hand experience on what the process is like, so that it's easy for you to help others. You must be really active in the community and be helping out. Yeah, it's quite visible who are the people who are really going in and providing help, providing answers and questions, potentially tweeting, writing about Centrifuge, making videos. And then if you're doing both of these things, you'll be invited to apply and selected by the ambassadors themselves. So if there's any questions on that, I'll just pause quickly before I pass over to Pat, who's going to share a bit of his insights about being an ambassador in the community. Cool. We've got a bunch of questions coming through about Altair, which we won't answer now. Any questions about the ambassadors program? Cool, and keep thinking about them. Otherwise, I'll pass to Pats to share a bit. Can I join? That's a question. So I just read out the criteria. So I'll send these details out in the Telegram group afterwards. But basically, you'll be invited to apply if you're around in the community doing a great job and helping out. Over to you, Pats.
All right, thank you so much, Kate. Okay, everyone, new members, welcome to the Centrifuge family. We welcome you on board as well from my end and from everyone as well. Okay, so it's really pleasant to see our community members going from like 2,000 odd to 12,000 within a span of, let's say, 1 month. So that is quite a big chunk, let's say 5x or something in terms of the growth of the community. So it's very good to see as well. If I want to put across what exactly we feel as a part of this community is something, I can phrase it out like it feels at home, you know. So it's such a good feeling to be associated with a part of this amazing community, and it's so cool to see get all your queries answered by, let's say, Martin or Lucas or Kate or Cassidy. So if you have anything, you just throw across them, and these guys will manage and spare time for you to at least respond and explain to it in a proper fashion so that you would understand. So yeah, that's a platform you get when you are a part of this ecosystem. And I'm sure along with me, all other ambassadors and the group also acknowledges the fact. And so it's quite a good platform. And I think as we go across over a period of time, we see much more participation from the communities, and already see there are few members which comes to the community in quite a good fashion as well. A nice good discussion on the forum as well. And also there is something always going on the Discords in terms of missions. So that also helps as a community to group together and put across your thoughts and so on and so forth, which helps to develop a community built much more stronger towards a path of achieve what the mission and vision that is set across by the Centrifuge. So overall, it's quite positive, quite good, feels home kind of experience, and it's basically because of the people and the human touch that is there in this community. So I think you will all experience it. Just put your one step forward, and then you will be there over there. So yeah, that's a high level I can give my thoughts and feelings across this community. So it's, for me, it's like a very good, and I'm sure it will be for you as well when you just start participating and when you start acknowledging the fact like, yeah, it is, and it is there for real. So that's the thoughts from me. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Pat. Thanks for all the excellent work. Any other ambassadors want to add anything from your perspective? Sam?
Yeah, it's also very fun being that and all the questions and getting impersonated by scammers.
You know you've made it when you have someone impersonating you and running a scam in your name. right?
Yeah, indeed. I think so. Could be a criteria also.
Thanks, Masood or Lukram. Yeah, that's it, unless other ambassadors want to add anything else. How has it been for you? Christian, I see you turning your camera on.
Sorry, it was the wrong button. I just wanted to speak. I like the mixture of the people. We are different personalities, maybe different ages, and we are from different time zones. What's really important. We have one guy from Australia, Sam. Then a few are in Europe. Then Ash is in Canada. Pats is in Dubai, so it makes the work with the community a little bit easier when we have different time zones to cover. Yeah, all in all, it makes fun. It's a cool community, and yeah, I'm glad I'm part of the community. And looking forward to the new potential ambassadors we will get in the future.
Awesome, thank you, Christian. Okay. Cool. So thanks everyone for joining the Centrifuge Community Call number 13. We covered quite a lot, and we'll be, I just wanted to mention that tomorrow Martin is on a panel. Can you drop the link in the chat, Martin? A panel on...
I do. It's more for the more professional investors here in the audience. It is an IMN DeFi panel on structured finance securitization, and now maybe, you know, the decentralization of it can change the world. Thank you for putting it in, Kate. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah. So anyone amongst you interested in that, some heavy future planning for the future of securitization, join that panel and you'll hear more from Martin tomorrow. Otherwise, yeah, I'll stop recording now, and a few of us usually just stay around in the call chatting afterwards. So thanks everyone, and see you soon.